Great. So, are we ready, Hannah? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still expecting for our second guest, Wade, but there is a big time difference, and I'm sure that he will be joining us from San Francisco very soon. My name is Bogomir Doringir, and this is my first Twitch, and I'm very happy to share it with Hana Omori, who is from the collective Keiken, which actually on Japanese means one's own experience. So I'm here in the name of the Next Museum. Next Museum is the new media art museum based in Netherlands, opened during the lockdown, after the first lockdown last year. And we are wonderful big space that can facilitate very large installations, crossover of art, technology, and science. And Indeed, in times of lockdown, we're still thinking how can we be creative, how can we be productive, how can we still create a community, and that is precisely the reason why my guest today is Hana Omori from Keiken. Hana, hello, hi. You're joining us from London, and today is
Yeah.
only you. But could you maybe shortly introduce how many members of collective are there? How long do you exist? What are you busy with, and what is your mission for the future?
My God, I'm not gonna remember all those
Yeah,
questions by the
let's just
time.
go one per one. Actually, there is no time
Okay.
pressure. We're on Twitch. This can last for 8 hours, forever.
Apparently the 8 hour ones, like the birthday ones, are the best
Yeah, yeah,
ones.
true, true.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah and I'm one of the co-founders of Keiken alongside Isabel and Canny, so Isabel Ramos and Tanya Cruz. And so they are yeah, they're here, but they're not here. So we founded Keiken in 2015, but it's very different starting Keiken. It's like starting a collective practice. So I think we spent the first year or so just trying to like see how we connect with one another, and then yeah, we kind of how our practice kind of developed was the fact that we all realized that we bonded over the word experience, whether that is about consciousness or whether that's like pushing the boundaries of experience. So hey Wade, how are
Hey, Wade.
you?
Hi. So
You
good to see.
look great. Can you hear us?
Yeah, perfectly. Hi guys, how are ya?
Hi,
I'm
hi. Yeah. So
okay.
everything is fine. We didn't have a proper technical test, but Wade is with us. And so, Wade, is it Wade Wallerstein or Wallerstein? I was actually
Um,
practicing your last name, and then I realized that I don't know it.
you know what? With our terrible American bastardization through the years of emigration, it's become Wallerstein. But you can, pronounce however you like.
Okay, Wallerstein is
The
somehow
original.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah, that works too.
Okay, great, great. Welcome. So yeah, we just started, and Hana is introducing the cake, and so yeah, you're in the right moment, in right time. Yeah. So Hana, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so we kind of bonded over immersive experiences and the idea of pushing boundaries of consciousness. And in the first few years, it was primarily working with gamified performances and some film works and installations. But we were really testing the kind of user participation, and we were also using a lot of social tools, I'd say. And then I think since 2019 we really decided we want to build a metaverse together, and that has been like very much our aim since. And I guess one thing that's kind of unique about our practice is we've always worked with collaborators, and we work with a lot of ongoing collaborators, and that's very much we kind of organically grow with other people. So we're kind of um, like cells distribute and come back together and transform and unfold. Like that's kind of how we work. It's very organic. And yeah, so for this piece we worked with Obsolete, who are amazing. They're super cool because I don't know anyone else who does like gamified coding performance. So before, like that's how we kind of became friends with them, was that they were just doing these wild, really strange, like experimental like gamified sort of performances using coding. And yeah, so for this piece we worked with them, and that's been like a great experience. And yeah, so that's kind of how we worked with this project, but also actually with the film work, the film itself within the game that was made with Brian Voltier and Sakima Crook. So and we work with Khadija for the sound for like most of our projects. And so yeah, I think that was all the collaborators. Oh, and then for the game we also worked with Regina, can you tell me his second name, how to pronounce Wade?
Harsani.
Hassani, who's a digital conservationist with Transfer Gallery, and Wade and Kalani to make this, and Susanna Pettigrew to make like this kind of similar to like a smart contract, social contract, very much within the like kind of thinking of the blockchain, but then also thinking of like how you preserve digital artworks and the importance of that. So basically we just work with loads of people all the time, and it's very metamorphic.
Yes, so don't worry. In case we forgot somebody, we will through the game because we will be playing the game together. So I think there's plenty of moments to mention and credit everyone, and particularly actually because everybody had a different role on the project. So maybe Wade. Now it's Wade Wallerstein. Now is the moment to introduce you and your work at the Transfer Gallery, but also I think even before that, because I think that's what really matters, because your social political engagement and the way how you're also thinking about the relationship between artists and gallery institutions, collectors, etc., is very much resembling and started already before Transfer Gallery. So could you just briefly introduce yourself, please, and welcome.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bogomir. I'm Wade. I'm the co-director of Transfer Gallery, which is a gallery that focuses on computational and simulation art forms. And we just did our first experimental exhibition using NFTs that includes Keiken's work that we're going to be going through today. But you know, I'm also the founder of Silicon Ballet, which is a platform which aims to bring together the kind of the disconnected fragments of the web and of the digital art ecosystem. And my background is in anthropology and studying kind of the shape of our influenced by and also influenced visual culture through digital technologies. And I'm really excited to play through this game and show you kind of the world that Keiken has been creating for us.
Great. Well, your sound is breaking from time to time, so please don't mind if I ask you to repeat an answer, or if we didn't understand you. We will touch. I actually have in front of me the Pieces of Me, which is the last exhibition that you curated for the Transfer Gallery, where you're also the director. And I would love to actually how we actually start playing the game. Also mention that exhibition, because I see that it is in a reaction to the trend of NFTs, and it started in February, and I think you and Kalani were reacting on this trend and looking at it from a critical point of view, and also seeing how you can engage with artists with this new technology and the way how it's being used. So Pieces of Me, please, if I forget, remind me to touch on that as well. So the exhibition, maybe actually we can say now, the exhibition opened in March.
The exhibition opened on April 1st, but throughout the entire period of February and March, you know, we at Transfer were kind of enthralled in the conversation around what the possibility of decentralized technologies can really do for artists and for gallery spaces. And I think that that's something that has really been very astutely experimented with and questioned through Keiken's work and through this piece in particular. But the show overall is really asking, you know, what are the protocols in place here? What does a decentralized future look like? And what are the actual affordances and the actual things that are going to be benefiting artists here? What structures or harmful constrictions are just being replicated, and which ones are actually, you know, new or novel? And those are all things that we kind of, through different ways, through different methodologies, experiment within the show across 50 artists and 50 artworks. Maybe just more than 50 artists, but 50 artworks. And each one is kind of presented in a different way of thinking about what it means to transact with intention in these new creative economies that are, you know, purportedly emerging. And I think that at the end of the day, like what all of this speaks to are the ways that we connect with each other and the ways that we're able to be together online and through the different ways that we make links between nodes in our network, whether those are actual, protocol code, or whether that's in terms of action or intention on behalf of us as the actors in that network. So yeah.
I guess this is a perfect moment. I would love to now invite our audience to Hana. Actually, how would you like? I guess we would there. Yeah, the people who would like to play the game together with us, they could
Yeah.
log in. Yeah, they could
So
actually.
maybe we can send the link just in the chat of Twitch. I think you can just do it directly. Oh, I need to log in. Can somebody who's already logged in send a link? Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you
there's
so much.
some
Oh, that
people.
was fast.
It's
That
already
was an
there.
amazing
Yeah.
response.
Yeah. Next.
And then
Great.
also just to encourage everyone, like we will be looking at the chat both inside the game and on Twitch, so please do feel free to ask questions at any point and we'll just answer them, because it's always really nice to be conversational, interactive. Let's play. Okay, I think that's what they want to
Okay.
do, is they want to play, so
So sorry,
let's
sorry. I'm
play.
just looking for. Okay,
Wait, do you
here we
have the link
go.
to the game up?
Yeah. So wisdom for and then dot love. By the way, we had quite some issues here with starting the page because there is a quite a strong firewall. So the dot love is detected as a kind of pornographic content or porn
Is
website.
it?
Yeah, which is great. I think this is a great promo. No.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. So wisdom4.love. Okay, so I'm now there, and
Oh,
yeah.
let's generate our own identity, because I love that. Like, because everyone wait, have you got it up too? I want to know what everybody's passwords are. And there's a mute button when you start playing the game. So I guess both the sound can come from Bogomir's, and then both of ours we can put on as
Okay, so I'm
mute.
joining.
Okay, I'm joining too. Second. Oh no. Okay. Yeah.
Inside one another, and the intense feeling of togetherness, wholeness overrides their bodies.
Bogomir, you haven't started from the beginning.
Bodies are deep.
Okay, so yeah, how should I do that? So
Oh, you're gonna have to, yeah, it's because you need to either hard reset. Basically, the game saves your cookies, so you need to either
okay.
hard reset it, or you can press download, but people are gonna see the end bit and it's gonna be streamed. So it's up to you. You can press download and just that's how you can restart the game as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna press downloads, and then okay, I got a bit of this.
Oh, I love like seeing people's name. My one's like Metaverse Zenith 640. Who are you, Wade?
So the download takes a little bit longer.
Oh, your humility.
I'm Humility Hemi 713. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, we're here. We're in metaverse.
I've been on this what do you call it, when I've gone online randomly, and sometimes people are having really weird chats. It's really fun.
What's the weirdest thing that you've come across people saying to each other, kind of inside of Wisdoms for Love?
I don't want to say because it makes it tainted. It's pretty gross.
Okay, I'll just leave it to,
but it's fine, like I don't mind that.
I'll leave it to my
that's like the nature of the internet, isn't it? So it's kind of like, it's the nature of being anonymous and stuff like that, so it's totally cool, but I'm not repeating it on this stream.
Okay, so the download is still taking place. Wait. Okay, a little bit.
There's
more.
14 players online.
14 players. Okay, so maybe
wow.
Has anyone got some questions whilst we're waiting?
No, so maybe while we're waiting, let's. I would actually love to know how. So Wade, you actually the Transfer Gallery commissioned the work. So the game has been created on your invitation. So
No, we haven't. So not really. We haven't properly commissioned this piece, so I don't want to take that credit. But we have been helping in the development of some of the aspects of the piece, and we are also offering it for sale, for collection with full archival treatment, kind of put onto the piece. So I'd be happy to talk to anyone about that if you're interested in learning about what it means to collect an interactive piece like this. But more, I think the thing that I collaborated with Keiken and Susanna Pettigrew on was the moral contract that accompanies the works that are freely available for download. And I wonder, maybe this is a good time, I guess things are loading up, Hannah, for us to talk about us to talk about the moral contract and kind of the downloadable pieces of this game, because obviously we're kind of loading up the game and we're loading up the experience itself, but one of the key aspects of the experience is that you get to take part of the experience with you, and you get to have your own collectible part of this metaverse that you can hold on to and care for, through time. And so we developed a special moral contract in order to go alongside those downloads so that people know what their rights and responsibilities are with these special digital assets. Hannah, I don't know if you wanted to explain any more about what people can collect
Yeah, so like if
from the
you,
game release.
as you play the game, there's basically a download button. So if you press the download button, you will have to restart the game with us, which actually, if you want to restart the game and go along with us, that's cool. You can go in your own direction. But basically, it comes with essentially free digital artworks. And there's 82 of them. And yeah, it was a long time creating all those assets, but yeah, so basically I think I think one of the instant like implications of going to the kind of NFT space was like finance, like, and this idea of like being able to only collect, or I guess if anyone collects stuff, it costs money. But for me, in my head, I'm like, why would you collect something like that? Costs money? Like, I don't have money. So I guess we kind of wanted people to be able to I think our work, we really try to think about accessibility, or we think about like, we want everyone to be able to enjoy the work, and we want people collecting. At the beginning, I was like, oh, collecting is like a form of like colonization in my head. But then actually, I also realized that some people collect things for really good intentions and good reasons. They collect things to care for things and to love for them. Which maybe opened my eyes a little bit.
So would you say that in a way this game is it's a game to learn like all the different ways of collecting, why we collect, what are the motivations, relationships, but also introduce people to the way how they can actually collect digital art, because that's an
Yeah,
everlasting
there's an
question and debate.
educational.
That's an educational aspect as well. Okay, so I think we're ready to play the game. So
Okay, let's
Hannah,
go.
please. Yes. So I did download, and I'm now sharing the screen again. So you should be able to
Okay,
see.
so now you can start again. So
Yeah.
just like I don't know, just refresh it and it will start.
Okay, here we go. So wisdom for dot love. And
Generate your identity. I'm waiting
ge-
in the first part.
generate your identity. There was a little nice sound in back. So my nickname will be Cool Transform 326. Cool Transform
Yay!
326. Okay, I'm definitely joining.
Perfect. So we can probably listen to the
Actually,
first bit.
last time when we did a rehearsal, I had a really
Let me
funny
show you this
nickname.
game. You might not know where you are or why you are here. It seems as though it is predetermined. Inside your womb, you carry your wisdom tokens. During gameplay, press on the wisdom tokens to learn more about what you carry within. To reach Love 3.0, you're going to have to understand each token. Are you ready to play? Play.
Okay, cool. So that's the first
Like,
bit. I can also explain the interface in a second if you'd like.
yes, so sure. So maybe after seeing this scene, the opening scene, we can explain a little bit the interface. Yeah.
Is the sound okay for everyone on Twitch? Like, let us know if the sound is like
Oh
not
yeah,
so
please, if
great.
you don't hear the sound, let us know.
I can't hear the sound on my side from your screen.
No?
Oh yeah. Oh, now I can.
Yeah? Can you hear it?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I can totally take you through the interface if you like.
Yes, so I will mute the sound, and maybe it's good to
Okay,
start
cool.
from the top left corner. So
Top
where
left.
the
So you have your username, and then you have how many players online. So there's 16 players online. Then you have your chat in the bottom right corner, no, bottom left corner. And then if you click on mycelium map, in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, so I think in the bottom right corner, actually, it says zoom over this image. So I apologize for that, but we can describe what is behind just to be sure.
Damn, that's so annoying. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Yeah, so basically, it's kind of can you move it at all to be able to open it, because it's actually quite good to be able to open it because it's quite intricate. It'll be hard to explain without being visually.
Okay, like this.
Amazing. So cool. So as you can see here, that opens the map when you press on mycelium map. And if you hover over the blue dot shows where you are and who else is in the same place as you. And then if you hover over the first dot, the very beginning dot, can you see there's somebody else in the first one, for example?
Yeah,
I think I'm
metaverse, then
there.
it's 6
Yeah,
floors.
exactly. And then maybe if you click on one of the baubles near the top.
Sorry, where?
If you click on one of the baubles near the top, one of the parts on the map, like further up.
Okay.
Because every time you click on the map, you can, on the different balls, you can like move the map around. So yeah, you can see where different people are. So if you move up the map, maybe, keep moving up the map. Yeah, cool.
Oh yeah, so
Carry
I
on
keep moving
moving.
the map by clicking on the different.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and maybe if
got
you
it,
carry
got
on
it,
moving up the map, because I can actually show you some
got
aspects
it.
of it. So
Yeah.
can you see here, there's a special number, and does someone want to read over it?
Number 6, this one?
Yeah.
So tokens of culture, consciousness, feelings, you need 6 more post-human rare tokens to unlock.
So what you need to do is basically, if you go on open inventory at the top right corner.
Yes, here we go.
Okay, cool. Oh, you did it really fast. Okay, next time I'll show you even more. So that basically when it's in a white color, it shows you that that's the ones you've got and you've seen it. But if you haven't seen it yet, it will appear red. So if you hover the mouse over.
Actually, I'm just realizing on a Twitch, your screen, the screen where we are talking.
Oh yeah.
So it's the top right.
Yeah, close and
corner,
open
close
inventory.
inventory. Yeah, and do not click download yet.
That's unless you want to finish the game and start again. Yeah. So it also shows you how many you've collected along the way, and also if you hover over one of the icons,
this
one of the exactly. So there's like the number, what is the name of the token, and then also it has like different values. So that one's the transportation disc is common, and then if you go on the other one, so the knife is an unlockable rare. So if you go on to the number 6 on that little bauble, so you need to get 6 post-human rares to be able to unlock that level.
Okay. So shall we then go back to the beginning?
Yeah, go back to the beginning.
Oh, and we forgot to mention the chat, which is in the left bottom corner. So let's say I can type now here.
Yay.
So we are actually, while playing the game, able to chat with each other, and no matter what level we are, the chat is always connecting everyone
to
at the
everyone.
same time. Yeah,
exactly. And then also, I chose to be a divine mother.
Yeah.
You like to be a divine mother too.
I love to be divine mother. Maybe I'm gonna do the horse one today. Yeah.
Okay, do the horse one today.
Okay, so shall we go back to
Yeah,
the
go back
beginning?
to, so you press game now. So all you need to do is press game,
Yes.
exactly. And then also just one last little thing. Can you see there's a plus and a minus? So the plus and the minus, all that does is help you see where you are along the game. So it just zooms it in, and that's like, you can kind of watch where you are and try to figure out where you're going along the way.
Okay, cool. I love this path as an object, and we will later actually speak a little bit of how you developed the narrative and how you came to this wonderful shape that shows time and where we stand. Okay, so do you accept? I guess yes. What happens if I say no?
You can say no.
Are you sure?
Yeah. No, you
Okay,
can.
okay, I'm gonna say no. Let's end. Okay.
Oh, look, you got 2 more tokens.
Responsibility. Okay. Comes with age.
I'd like to let you guys know that I don't know where your progress is at, but I have already collected an ultra rare token.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, I think we're going a little bit slower, but okay, so
do you want to unmute every time the voiceovers happen so we can follow the narrative bit?
In conscious life.
Do you know yourself more than they know you?
Do they know you more than you know yourself?
I think this question is easy. I would always go for the first one. Do you know yourself more than they know you? Yes. Okay. So you're kind of addressing these doubts and insecurities that we are having in a moment, when it comes to it's such a pity to speak over this wonderful sound.
Oh, it's okay, don't worry.
Yeah, no, but it feels like you're kind of triggering our contemporary insecurities, like does technology knows us better than we know ourselves? Or is it really true that we are predictable, calculated, that we are just another predictable human being? So how do you unfold a narrative from that angle? How do you, because you have these questions are quite dramatic and triggering. So what are you trying to achieve with those questions?
I think it's from last night on the Clubhouse and from today, I didn't realize how dramatic we were. But maybe we are. So like, I think a lot of it was, just like a lot of research into like so I think during COVID, it's like there's a lot of like very like there's been a lot of emotions and feelings and consciousness and collective consciousness that's rose to the surface of different like implications with the world. Like, for example, it's like when there's like a hole in our reality, it means that like we no longer believe in the reality that we're existing in. So I think what we were looking at is like, what are the important issues in the contemporary moment to discuss, and what are the important different feelings that people can connect to, and emotions and consciousness that people need to like, that we're reflecting upon in this moment. And even though a lot of it touches upon things that are very in the mainstream media and a lot of like risen to the surface feelings, but at the same time there's like a very impending implication with like stuff like AI and also with like kind of like post-work era, and like what is it going to be like when technology potentially, basically what happens when we become hackable human beings, what happens when we can hack like our internal land. So for example, our external land, our digital land, we've colonized it and we've done so many mistakes, but the implication of what happens when we start to colonize other people's eternal land, it's a very messy game to play. So I know like within like there's so much advancements and there's so much money, and there's also so much investment that's like behind the scenes for like to know humans more than they know themselves. So it's more us kind of And yeah, there's loads of research, like even from stuff like obviously Yuval Noah Harari talks about it a lot, about the fact about us AI kind of being the future, and that they'll know us more than we know them, and what's the implication of that. And then even there's stuff like, I know like Sam Harris is really big on like that everything you can predict 7 seconds, the last 7 seconds of anybody. I don't know how to explain it. I don't actually follow him that much, but I know other people have referenced him from when I've listened to conversations about like, is everything predetermined? Okay, so yeah, so it's a lot of we do quite extensive research in a lot of different areas to kind of inform.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. That's why I think it's so interesting for me to understand how the narrative unfolds, because you actually do play a lot with the symbolism, mythology, AI, technology, and there is this kind of dramaturgy, and also these different voices that you work with create this sort of particular experience. So actually, let's. I was actually wondering about the choice for voices, because they're all quite very different age, different accents. So who are the people that you are hacking or borrowing voices from for your work?
Well, to be honest, they are mainly our friends, but we really thought through the different people. And like, obviously, also, for example, Tanya, Izzy and I are all like diasporic. So we all have parents that are from different places. So that kind of already, and I think when you're diasporic, you always make friends that are diasporic too. So because you share this commonality between one another. So a lot of them were just friends from all over, or like people that we've made connections with all over the world. And that was like the main people that we worked with for the voices. I think also someone's asking a question about whether the graphics are all made by one person. So the graphics or the CGI is made by Ryan Voltaire, us as well, so all three of us, like, with Keiken as well. And
okay, so sorry, I just see that it's my favorite questions. Like, so how would you contribute to the metaverse? To become a human god? Boring. Become a divine mother? Yes, please. Stay on your moral high horse. So, you know, I will go for the same. I think I would say become a divine mother. So let's click to that one. Become a divine mother.
You love that one.
There are new tokens that just appeared, and if I'm correct, what I see on the right side are the tokens that we collected together. So just to repeat a little bit so that we are sure that people understand. So basically, the number that is in front of the token is standing for the order that the token is on the list, if I'm correct. Yeah, and then there's a title. So for example, I'm now looking at the bowl of HumanGod responsibility, and this is a precious token. So how do you decide on the value, let's say, or does it say precious or post-human rare? Okay, I have one post-human rare. I might be able to unlock that world number 6. So how did you decide, or how do you value them, the tokens that we are collecting?
So I think like that's been like kind of an ongoing process. I guess a lot of it's been actually speaking to and like learning from the NFT community, and also we are just really interested in gamifying. Like we've explored a lot of different avenues of gamifying our work in kind of experimental ways. So I think this was another way of kind of going into the game and being able to so for example, if we just value them as the same system, it's like people won't think of like, oh, how do those objects all work as together? So then, for example, how do all the post-human babies, how do we experience them as just a smaller collection and perceive them in that way? Or like, why, like it's left for people to question, like, why is this one precious? And then also there's certain activations we want to do. So for example, all the secret rares are actually going to only be activated. So we have 2 upcoming exhibitions, and those, when we have the physical exhibition, people will be able to play the game in a much more 3D, like digital way. And when each time someone completes a different pathway, they will send one of the tokens free out to the metaverse. So it's like, it's actually activated, the activation in the physical space will be an act of giving to the metaverse, essentially. So there's kind of, oh.
Yeah, wait.
No, go ahead, sorry. Go ahead, Hannah.
I didn't mind.
I was just gonna say that I think that the whole piece, like, and particularly this experience of interaction and contribution that people make, like, it really speaks to the way that technologies like AI and that are super futuristic and that Hannah is talking about, they're breaking down our fundamental human ability to connect with each other. There's a reason why cognitive dissonance is so strong right now. There's a problem with perception as we are unable to break through different filter bubbles and different spheres. We've talked about like getting caught in loops, and especially algorithmic loops that kind of keep us confined in whatever circuit that we currently happen to be running in. And I think that this idea of this space continuously growing, continuing to expand, continuing to take different kinds of contributions from different people through different kinds of activations in the physical world, in different kinds of digital worlds. It all speaks to, I think, a feeling of resistance against those ways the technology are used to separate and isolate us. I mean, even in the way that like contemporary rhetoric around the technologies that are emerging right now are kind of positioned speak to isolationism, I think. Like we think about like decentralized technologies, and isolated nodes, and this kind of feeling of removal. And I think that what this piece does in a lot of ways is push back against that and argue for the connection that those disconnecting or disenfranchising or isolating kinds of systems or protocols might kind of impose upon us.
Also, just like basically self-centered technologies produce loneliness. Self-centeredness creates loneliness. So if you create self-centered technologies, it will inevitably produce loneliness. So, you know, for example, social aspect, the reason why people can play inside the game, and even the novel aspect to be able to collect these tokens and to be able to have a new form of connecting with interacting with our artwork and giving and taking, that sort of relationship. It also creates a new form of understanding, that people really understand the idea of collecting. So like last night, like one of my friends from like the crypto space, he went on Discord with his friends to play the game, and they can actually understand it because they might not have the same not have the same knowledge that we do that lets us, that like we access art actually in a different way, and that's no way is the right way, but we want to explore the forms in which you can access our art in a progressive way, in an open way. So that's one of the ways. So for example, somebody might collect some of those tokens, they might not understand what they mean, but they might pick up on it at a later point. And it's like, for us, it's like the levels of entry need to be multiplicit for people to be able to engage with our work, because, and even we do that within installations, we might just go into our installation, just see the visuals and listen to the sound, or lie on this comfy like foam seating, and it's like we're always trying to think of the like entry level with our work so that it is multiplicit, because I would much prefer people to explore our work in their own way than me to force them for everyone to perceive in the way that we want them to perceive, or the way that I think. I don't want somebody to watch our work and think the way that I thought about our work, and inevitably we're a collective, so we all think differently of our work that we've created together. So that's kind of like, yeah, so a lot of it is about trying to figure out how do we do that. And also, I think that the blockchain space is probably something that's here to stay. I don't know how it's going to transform. Like, I'm not talking specifically about NFTs, I'm talking about the blockchain. And if so, it's a new form of finance and a new form of the ways the structures of the world will change. And people, like diverse people, need to be in that space. And the entry level to that and the way people access that is going to be very different and very diverse. So, you know, we might be able to come at it from like more of an artistic angle from the contemporary art world and find ways where they can meet into that space in some level. And we can't do everything, but then also we can try to like learn from also the tech space, because there's so many things that we learn from the tech space. There's a lot of values that they hold that are actually like really amazing and really progressive. It's just like learning each other's languages.
So Hana, I just have a question. Hannah, I just have a question for you. Like, in that attempt to do that and to provide those multimodal access points for a variety of different kinds of, you know, cognition of this piece, how do you reconcile that with the constrictions that the technology itself imposes on the work? And for instance, like I'm you know, loading the game on my Google Chrome browser on my Windows computer, you running what that kind of techno framing, how you play with that, in how you subvert that or play into that, or like grapple with the fact that that's always going to do something to the way that the viewer is going to perceive this work.
I guess we work in lots of different mediums, so this is only one of many. So, you know, sometimes we're doing like gamified performances, sometimes we're doing immersive installations, films, we're doing games, we're doing AR, that's like a social AR. It's really like, at the moment we're working on creating actually like a new technology that's using haptics and sensors as the first main access point. So that like, you know, we can't do everything, it's like one step at a time. But we try to explore these technologies, and we also really like to be at the early adopters of new technologies, because we, you know, when you're an early adopter, you can have influence in the way it's shaped. So like, for example, we were in the beta stages of Facebook, and the Facebook like Spark AR like filters. So, you know, we'd speak to Facebook about filters and like offer our opinions on it and stuff like that. And I think and even just like understanding it from its like roots and where it started, and also understanding how Facebook was approaching it. Maybe we don't know everything, but we know the community, and we know people that work there, and we're kind of like understanding things slightly behind the scenes or with the community that exists there. I think for us that's always very important, because, you know, we don't come from a technological background. We've learned how to do everything ourselves. Actually, the CGI in the game we made last year, and it was like really like the first time we were really getting into making CGI. And actually Ryan, again, like Ryan taught us a lot of these things. He was helping us, and like he's super good at like learning and teaching, and through our exchange of collaboration, he actually really helped us like teach us, not only collaborate with us, but he was teaching us how to also use the tools.
Okay, so just to sum up, I mean, you know, there was a question of loneliness, there was a question of isolation, there was a point of access to technology or challenging the way how technology is created or used. But then there is also a lockdown, and there is also Corona. And I mean, honestly, I guess what you would love to see is probably that we meet in a physical space around this work as an installation. And so I'm just curious, like, in what way did Corona or COVID and the lockdown influence your work? Because I know that the elements of this work, of the game, did exist as an installation that was presented in Spain, I believe. So I'm just interested to see how this sort of ongoing process of yeah, as you said, constantly transforming and learning things to do it yourself. So yeah, I think the one question is like, how did COVID-19 impact your artistic practice? And actually, from what I see, you never stopped. And another question is like, this work did exist in a form of installation. So I would just love to know that way, how it transforms from physical space into video game environment. Yeah.
So we kind of, so it was also a 5-channel immersive, so 5-channel, like long, over 24 meter, like long projections in 5-channel immersive space. And it was first made for that. So the visuals were made for that. And, you know, at the time as well, like at that very moment, say like between July, August, September, it's very hard to be able to reflect on all the changes on COVID. It's really difficult, but we go on Instagram, and when we go on Instagram, we use our visual understanding. That's why loads of artists love using Instagram, because you're using your visual language to interpret things. So we were like, okay, you know, at that point, I think, you know, I definitely found social spaces like Instagram to be very heavy at that time. And how can we as artists provide some reflection or some sort of engagement in this moment that we feel is actually relevant for other people to see? Because every time if I'm speaking right now, which I'm pretty like loud and stuff, it's like I'm taking the attention of somebody else. So therefore, like, I want to say something that's of value, and that was very hard to do, because it's like, I don't know what's going on, and also I don't know how everyone's feeling. And so for us, it was really important to really kind of step back and use that very like Jungian raw approach of like using our symbolic language. So it's very much like, okay, we're just going to interpret it, what's going on right now, in a visual way that's very symbolic, because we as artists, like, I don't know what's going on consciously on the forefront of my mind, and I don't know what decisions to make, but in the back of my mind, my body and my reactions and our bodies, because we're collaborative, our bodies will be able to intuitively say something that is important. And, you know, that's something that we do within our work. We, like, for example, like Film My Metaverse and stuff like that, it's like, it doesn't stop when we make the work. It's like, we make the work and we learn from that work. Like, that work teaches us something too, and we reflect on it together, and we're trying to figure out what we actually made a lot of the time. We know it's right, and we connect the dots together, but it's hard to always know. You don't know what your work's about. And it's like, for example, when you have to write a description, you're like, fuck, I have to write a description and I don't know what it means yet. I just don't know. We don't know what it means.
So you also need audience to help you understand what the work is really about, you would say, or to understand how it works, or what
the gamified experiences, especially the performances, they tend to be simulated experiences. And by the way the audience reacts is normally the best thing about doing gamified performances is you subvert reality, and the audience always behave in a way that you didn't expect on some level. And then you take that kind of simulated experience and try to like come up with like how people would react in the future to certain responses, or you try to just observe it to recognize like human behavior, basically, because normally it's a group space where people are in a subverted reality acting differently. So for example, stuff like durational performances where people go very wild if you leave it running. But so going back more to the questions, so yeah, so at that time when we did it as like an immersive 5-channel space, that was very much it was important that there wasn't many voices, and the only voice that was there was Sakima's voice, and Sakima's one of our ongoing collaborators, Sakima Crook, and she's a performance artist. And she actually, like, when lockdown first started, we had spent like quite a bit of time trying to like reflect on like what we had done so far with our collaboration, and she was quite shy we spent like a whole day basically trying to like work on like her being able to use her voice, because she expresses herself through her body, she world builds through her body, but then suddenly she had this like huge voice, and she ended up being a really key figure within the UK for like Black Trans Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter movement. And she was literally spent like a good 6 months just speaking because she's wise, like she has a lot to say. So we kind of just, the only voice that we used at that time was Sakima's voice, and that was actually Sakima's words. We didn't script it, we just like recorded her voice. And like so at that time that was the only voice that was in the piece till September, because we felt that our voices were like not necessary at that point in time, whereas like now we have more time to reflect. So when we've made it into a game and there's words in it, and those words were created by us, like Keiken, and it was because we understood what those images meant better, and we also felt it was the right time for us to like more articulately like express ourselves, I guess, on using words, whereas at that time we didn't feel that there was need for that, and it wasn't the right moment. So, but what we realized, like, is before we always talked about our work being like modular and it being well, but it's constantly growing. But I think now what we're starting to recognize is that our work is just a living entity, it exists and it's alive, and that's why we always go back into it. It doesn't, like, we don't control it in a lot of ways. It's like it just is there, and it's like an intuition. And yeah, we revisit it, and we have people that we work with ongoingly, like, and our worlds are built from the people that we work with. Like, even, you know, for example, it's like, I don't know, like with Sakima, she did a performance with us in September, but we're still, like, our relationship with this world that we're building together doesn't stop there. It's like, you know, we often are calling each other and like discussing this and like really trying to think about it and grow together. So it's a very like, it's like a real, it's like our, it's an abstraction also of the conversations that we have in real life together and our relationships.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's a living entity, it's constantly transforming, and it seems that you are also gaining the voice, or getting your voice through the work, because I also recognize that kind of a moment of not knowing if your voice is right, but you also are having the voices that were important for the time in which we lived, because your friend and an activist, yeah, the voice became part of the work and the trigger in the work. So, but let's get back to the game, because there is still a lot more to say, and it's a perfect slide. I'm not sure if you're able to see it, just confirm. So we have now the slide that says suffering is the truth and truth is suffering. Suffering is truth and truth is suffering. Oh, this is a tricky one. Um, oh, wait. So, okay, yeah, let's say that suffering is truth is suffering. Suffering is truth. Okay, let's do suffering is truth. Yeah.
Do you want me to also, I can get up the different pathways so I can repeat the because it's on because we're speaking and stuff, sometimes it's really hard to be able to remember what's been said, so I can actually read out the parts if you want.
Sure.
As we
Okay.
go along, if that's helpful to also interrogate like the actual parts.
So what's going on with the wombs, and these kind of semi-transparent wombs? I remember that you actually started the research on artificial wombs, as a kind of a side project. But could you maybe say something about the artificial wombs that are in the game as well?
So everyone's so everyone carries their vessel with them, which is kind of based on Ursula Le Guin's I hope Tanny or Izzy's online to remember. It's like the carrier bag fiction of theory. Can please Izzy or Tanny reply? I normally used to like them responding to me. Oh yes, it is carrier bag fiction of theory. So basically, what Ursula Le Guin kind of argues is that the first weapon was not the sphere; it was the vessel. So it was not to fight, but it was to carry something from one space and time to another space and time. So we took that theory on in relation to everyone carries their different consciousness, belief, feelings with them throughout time, and they place it to other points in space-time. So the objects were essentially the objects you carry inside your womb. So a lot of them were symbolic objects of feelings, beliefs, and consciousness within the contemporary moment that we were experiencing, especially during like lockdown, because we couldn't really have the overview that we wanted to. So we kind of used a lot of the overview through creating these objects and symbolic, kind of using our symbolic language.
Okay, and so yes, symbolic language. So how do you? There was also a question, I saw it somewhere, about how do you? Um, yeah, what are the references to the talkings? Like, how do you? Does it come from literature? Does it come from art? Does it come from a brainstorming? Does it just happen randomly? So how do you? how do you decide, or how do you design these talkings and objects, or actually how do you decide on the visual language as well that you will be using?
So so in terms of the writing first, or
Yeah, but also especially because, for example, when every time I look the sequences, to me it seems that it has an element of spiritualism, has an elements of sci-fi narrative, religious paintings,
Mhm.
goddesses. So there is a kind of iconography around it,
Mhm.
and I think that's also what makes your images very recognizable. There is that kind of semi-transparency, liquidity, birds, wombs. So
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, is this like a Keiken sort of language, or is this something that happens in the
Yeah.
process of making, or maybe you actually even decide on the meaning of images after the work is displayed? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we definitely do everything with intention. There's an intentionalness, but there's a lot of intuitiveness within our practice together. And also because I feel like sometimes I'm like, because Tani and Izzy and we spend like, every day for the last, like, I don't know, 6 years or something together. If I go to the toilet, I phone them. Even with collaborators, I do the same. We're always like, yes, this is a form, this is a sign of how much we love each other. But but like because I feel like sometimes because you create this microcosm community, you start to see the world in a certain way together, and you start to like build, especially because we're all like so artistically driven. We understand the world through this kind of very visual and sensorial kind of way of understanding. We use a lot of like archetypal language to start kind of breaking down the kind of bird's eye perspective of like what we think um the world is kind of quantified in different symbolic ways. um so yeah, so that's kind of a lot of it. And also stuff like for example, the influence of having like like having parents from like different countries. They often explain things in different ways as well, like a lot
Mhm.
more metaphoric ways. So we use metaphors a lot to like decode the meaning of things as well. And we also just really identify with symbols to understand the future. Like in our head, we're trying to do that together. We're trying to understand the future together. It's important, like for example, water is so important when we talk about water a lot together, and things like that. There's like, the womb has always been a really important symbol for us, and we keep going back to the womb within our practice, and we go back to the sky gods. We go back to, and we've always done that within all of our pieces, even from the very beginning. So even like when we did like one of our first gamified performances, I remember, like, I think Izzy played the celebrity, I played the director, because I'm like a bit bossy, and like and then like I remember our friend, like yeah, so a few of our different friends played different other roles. So there was like the anonymous, there was like the politician. So yeah, so we like to, like, because we're talking about worlds, so it's always about like bird's eye perspective. So using these very, like, it's not like just using people's names, it's like using like words that associate to groups of things, which I guess probably because Wade, you do philanthropy, like digital philanthropy, you probably understand, like you could probably talk about it a bit too, like
I
using
mean,
these kind of,
it's interesting,
yeah.
the bird eye view, because the bird eye view is a kind of a divine or a the God, the Almighty can see us all, and I mean, and your work does play on that line of sort of semi-religious, but then kind of transformed. Imagery, and then you also you challenge also the stereotypes of what the human body is like, are, there's artificial womb, so there is something there. And then actually I just see the question in the chat that says, do you think that there is visual language ruling the current digital art discourse, and what are its politics? So I guess that somehow is in line with what
Yeah.
discussed, and that's the choice of the images. Or and you know, and there's also, I think, the moment that I think the technology allows us to create certain images, because um, you know, especially now in NFTs, like there's this explosion of a similar imagery. And that's actually because that's what technology is allowing us to do as well in this moment. So how much is of your visual language also comes from the possibilities of the tools and skills, or how
Mhm.
much is predetermined and decided really by you? Which is, you know, it's also fine. It's like in a sort of every creative generation or new generation has its own visual language, and very often that
Mhm.
visual language comes also uh, from, you know, so from sometimes from tools that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, maybe this question: do you think that there is visual language ruling the current digital art discourse? What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
inevitably there are certain tools, and you have to like really like, it's actually really hard to be able to, especially if you're not a group of artists. Like sometimes I really like want like individual artists to not ever like for example, we work as a group, and I think that's very different, because basically every time we're working as a team, therefore people have different skills and you kind of can navigate it in a different way. Whereas I think if you're an individual artist, everything relies on you, and I think that's a like a different like very like role to play, that's like very commendable, because I'd be really scared to do it on my own. But I think that it's very much defined, like there is like technology does, the technology that it made does affect the way the aesthetics look, but then there's also certain when you come from the internet, if you're an internet child, we are internet children, so therefore it's like the digital paintings are hand painted, most of them, but they're hand painted using like my old Tumblr blog. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm an internet kid, so I just go on my Tumblr and use the pictures, and I just like turn them into paint. And I think there's also like this like intuitive way of working, that if you're a kid of the internet, you navigate the digital space in a different way, and you also see it as your friend as well. It's like it's part of your past, it's part of your childhood, it's part of your cognition. So I think there's like a cognitive side to it, of like how you developed to become an adult. Like I remember when I was in uni, and like one which was difficult was like obviously this is more personal to me, like Tanya and Izzy had their different experiences, but for me I found it really difficult, one, to like, I remember my teacher being like, hey, like you need to explain what this means, and I was like, no I don't, because I feel it's right and it's true. And that's what my mum taught me, because my mum's, you know, she's Japanese and she sees the world very differently, and it's not very, it's just completely different. So I was really confused that we have to like write something, and that took me ages. And two, they didn't understand why I was using Tumblr so much, and they were like, you've got to get off this. But like it's like, you know, it's just different. So there's a side of it in terms of like the current discourse is affected by the technology itself. It's also incredibly affected by financial means of computer. Like computers are expensive, and we are constantly struggling with our computing power, and to be able to keep up with it, to be able to create what we want to do. Then there is, yeah, there's so much freedom as well, I'd say, like some crazy amount of freedom. And then also too, I think yeah, like children of the internet or whatever, natives, like they that's part of their like like they have a physical and digital relationship of growing up, and it's like a digital way of growing, so it's like entwined, so you naturally use those tools and technologies to express yourself, and that's just innate.
No, I
I don't
think
know.
that's a very interesting point, because I'm actually generation that had internet since, I mean, I was like, I don't know, 13, 15. So so you know, the amp, I mean, of course I have like, I remember ICQ chat, which had its little flowers icons and had this particular sound which was like and you know, when I hear that now, I kind of get goosebumps, and I'm totally emotionally, you know, connected to that, and to all communications and friends and community that I actually enter through those chats. But you know, having actually being generation that totally grew up on internet is already something very else. But yeah, thank you for clarification, because that's also very interesting. Who is watching the work and how we perceive these images also depends from the background, from the education, and also from I guess some kind of openness as well. So somebody says my mom also told me to quit Tumblr.
I
Yeah. Hey, so shall
know.
we rise from the water, or
Yeah.
shall we
Do you
stay
want
in?
me to read
You
the
want to?
paragraph for it, so then you can get like an insight? And also, someone
Okay.
said they came to the end. So if you go to the end, you can actually start again and refresh. And like if you don't download, and you can still carry on from where you're at, because it kind of saves your cookies.
Oh yeah, that's important one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so yeah, you will read the first line and then.
shall I read do you want to read the whole bit or no? Because I've got it up, like I put the writing up basically, just in
Okay,
case you want me
sure.
to
Yeah,
read
yeah, yeah,
them.
sure. Yeah.
Okay then, so it's a shame because it's Suze's voice this bit, and she has the best voice.
Is there a way that we can repeat this part
No, we
somehow?
should actually like really, maybe we could get a repeat button to like
Yeah,
listen.
yeah.
Yeah, so I won't do it as well as Suze, but I can't actually pretend to be Suze. That'd be too difficult.
Is
She's
Suze with
much,
us today?
yeah, she'll
Yeah.
definitely be there in spirit. Maybe she's
She's
there.
inimitable.
Yeah, I bumped into her yesterday and I was so happy. It was like the universe is just connecting us back together because we love each other so much. But okay, I'll speak it, not pretending to be her. So gods are no longer elsewhere. Instead, they stand on top of giant melting icebergs so that they can exist as high in the sky as possible. What they do not understand about this center point is that they have lost the ability to see the forest and to know the philosophical roots. They are hybrid, both human and gods and goddesses of consumption, media, and technology, or they are traumatized human beings disguised as evil political rulers, their beliefs expelled from their unique center point, just like any other human beings on Earth. They are meant to address and care for the earth with no parameters, but they also come from a small tribe and they don't have the philosophical ability to know how to fight with dignity. Your center point is not a weapon, but a source of wisdom. This center point weapon has the ability to voice to the world. They have the power to change and destroy the earth, to oppress billions of people for centuries to come. However, what they do not understand is that in the new story, the gods are not from the sky, but rising from the water. Rise from the water or stay in the sky.
Let's just stay in the sky.
Why does his center point deserve more than your center point? That doesn't feel right. We don't believe in him anymore. We don't trust centralized technology or systems. In Web 3.0, they will colonize the digital land together, a decentralized system using a gameplay we already know. In Love 3.0, we can collectively build a vessel in the meta ocean. We are past collecting more to win the game. The hope of a new way of believing in the system gives great power to the individuals that believe together. They are so excited for change. It fills those who believe with euphoria, hope, and purpose. Is this the new belief system? And in this new belief system, how do we harness this excitement to care for all that exists, to make space for otherness, to treat each person's center point with equality? The belief needs to be malleable and willing to change. No words are written into existence that cannot be reevaluated. How do we fight with dignity for the decentralization of the Earth and metaverse?
Decentralization Earth.
Decentralization metaverse.
I knew it was going to be Wade's voice, so I was laughing beforehand.
I totally forgot about that. I forgot about the voiceover. Yeah, I have a little feature in there.
Okay, so definitely we go to metaverse. Yeah.
Also, George said hi, I think, in the chat.
Oh, hi, George.
I know, how cute.
I'm really enjoying sound. Did you Hana already say who did the sound for the work?
Yeah, so Flore, like, so Khadija did it basically. Yeah, Khadija, like, so good. It's so funny because whenever we do an exhibition, everyone's always like, who did the sound? And we're like, hey, what about our work?
Yeah, I mean, sound is sometimes taking over the image because I remember when we had the workshop at the Film Academy, and it was we were watching movies without image, just through the sound, and then you realize how much you perceive even without images what the narrative is about. Yeah, so it's quite a tricky one. Yeah.
When we do whenever we do like installations and stuff, and Florrie does the sound, I'm always get really upset with him if the sound isn't loud enough, and I'm like, really, like, it's the only time I think I got really stroppy and I felt really embarrassed with myself was when we had like one of the gamified performances go through and it just wasn't loud enough, and I was so sad because this I like it when the sound is just as loud as the voices, so it like you're like immersed in the sound, and especially with Khadija's music, I'm like, I want to be immersed in it when I'm inside it.
So we have a question: how will the game work for users once you transfer it into VR, and one will be able to meet with others and explore the spaces, exchange tokens with others, etc.?
So we have been like, so I've made this like lovely friend called Theo, and we have been looking in Somnium space. So he has a bit of land, and we're like looking into how we can create it into a VR kind of social space. And then also, when we'll be able to meet at school this week, tokens of the, oh, so how can we explore the tokens more? So yeah, there's basically what we're trying to like, I really want to like figure out more about the technology and the cool ways that like on the blockchain to like really make things interesting. So I'm going to super like keep a lot of that a secret, I guess, for the time being, but but I've been thinking of a lot of different things, and we've been thinking about lots of different things.
So would you like, shall we maybe look into the tokens that we collected and to speak a little bit about them? Okay, so I have it. So for those who are watching us on Twitch, basically, once you click on a download, you will receive, Hana, maybe you can explain a kind of a collection. You will download actually a zipped folder where all the tokens are, and also contracts. So I will be now showing you what we collected and how that contract looks like.
Maybe if you go on central, do you want to get to the end of this one, because we're quite near it?
Sure.
So go on centralization A, so I know.
Okay. You're the pen.
You can put the sound on, yeah.
That was Diet Prada.
Yeah.
Diet Prada
Yeah.
as an
How did you
Instagram
get here?
profile.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Diet Prada was really important during
Uh-huh.
2020.
The structure of internal, external, and digital land that makes you hurt inside. It is the process of mourning the known whilst moving into the unknown. It is okay to have lost faith in these systems. Capitalism, communism, centralization, decentralization, Earth, metaverse. Metamorphosis is a process, not an ending. The ability to imagine the future is real and exists within all of us. We just need to help one another unlock this.
The beginning.
The end.
So go on the end.
Okay.
Cool. So now you can oh no, you got to see this end bit, I think.
Congratulations. You are a human god that did not take the path towards Love 3.0. Love 3.0 is a continuous process. Game incomplete. Try again.
Okay, and what about that world number 6? Sorry, that.
You see how many you got? I don't know. I don't think.
There's a high criteria here for ascension.
For what?
Like ascension or like advancement, I guess, like to reach kind of like Love 3.0 enlightenment. There's a high threshold.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how to reach Love 3.0. So like, I think that's why we left it as a continuous process.
So
So
okay,
what you do is you just click on the baubles.
So okay, I have here.
Oh, you didn't press download.
No, I didn't because it's gonna take a long time. So
Oh,
I
did
have
you want
here.
to press download to show to actually just show the interface, or no?
Yeah. Wait.
Or will it just slow down the computer load?
Yeah, I'm afraid that it will.
Okay,
but,
so maybe we can just explain that what happens. So basically, we're
wait,
not.
I will do it. I will do it. Download. But actually, it doesn't work.
I think it might be just like it. I think because you're streaming lots of things, it's going to be like
let's
really.
just,
It will make it crash, so it's fine. So what I would say is that we prepared a few of them, I think.
Yes.
And so what happens is you press download, and then there's like a loading screen where you can see all the tokens, and then you get. Have you got the zip file that you get?
Yeah, I did. I have a zip file, and inside of the zip file, there were different tokens that were collected, and there is a PDF.
Can you show it or no?
I can. It's actually on a separated screen here.
Okay. So maybe we can explain it if not.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically a folder, a zip folder that has. Just a second, I have here a special support, Antonio, who you can't see, but he's with me. He's my imaginary friend. Yeah. Antonio, yeah. Yeah, okay. No, we were looking for. Okay, so I have this contract. I love contracts, and I know that Wade was helping with this contract.
So does Regina.
Okay. So shall we first actually look into the contract maybe before we show what?
Okay, maybe I can just explain that you get a zip folder, and the zip folder, it's the name of the zip folder is your username, and then when you open up the zip folder, it comes with the tokens, and it comes with a moral contract and the animatic poster of all the different tokens that you can collect, so you can see which ones you've not got as well, and then kind of go back to it, and then it's a one animatic one and one still one, so you can zoom in to see the names and stuff like that.
So this is one of the tokens that I could have. This is another. I have a lot of knives.
I think you've only got knives maybe because I think I can tell you that I think I sent you a document of like the backstory behind the knives, because I just thought we could just maybe it didn't, I don't know, maybe it's a bit boring for people to just see the knives, but then
but we also do have this one if you would like to scan through it.
yeah, and you'll get to see Elon's bare bum in a second. So do you want me to explain a little bit? So you have to collect all the, so there's basically the unlockable rares, which is like you can that all the knives are the unlockable rares, and then the kind of backstory of it is that, which is kind of, it's also in the game, is that kind of it talks a lot about the center point. And initially the center point obviously is like, it's like a knife, but the knife can be used as a weapon to protect yourself or to hurt someone else. So we talk a lot about how the center point is like the symbol of that, and how like each being is given a unique center point. That's why it says like the knife is a center point. And then from your center point, you weave a story of self. This center point will always be yours. It tethers you to the earth and positions your axis of existence. It's the only guaranteed consistency you have in conscious life. Your center point will be your ultimate source of wisdom and your greatest failure. And so like the reason why I think I sent you those earlier on this week was just because the center point is like one of the kind of ongoing symbols that we talk about a lot within the game. So I thought it's good to highlight it, basically.
Okay, so and so when you okay, so maybe it's actually interesting to now mention the contract and what is the responsibility of those that are collecting. And I see here that it says Pieces of Me, which is actually the exhibition that Wade curated for the Transfer Gallery and that you're taking part of. So the contract is written together with the Transfer Gallery and Keiken. So
yeah, so the reason, I mean, from the transfer side, why it was important to include a contract like this was because these works are coming into contact with other works in a commercial context of sale. And there's a ton of other non-fungible tokens in the show, also works that are sold just as works, not as NFTs or using any kind of blockchain procedure. But we wanted to make something that was separate for these works, given that they needed some contextualization and they needed some contextual care. And what I think that we were really interested in collaborating on was thinking about different ways that relationship between the collector, between the artist, between the kind of brokering agency or the kind of like guiding agency or body, our gallery, and then like overall what it means to be a collector and a custodian of this work. And so when you're downloading each of these tokens, this is not a legally binding document, but it does transmit some social and moral and ethical duties to you as the person who downloaded it and who is going to hold and take accountability for this free copy of a wisdom token. And so, yeah, I don't know, Hannah, I mean, what does it mean to you to give these works away in the context of something that is, oh my God, what's the best way to put this? I'm stumbling over my words today. Like, how does this contract sit with you and the work in this capitalist context that we're working within?
So like, I guess like one thing, obviously, I was learning a lot about connecting through like Transfer Gallery and like Wade and like Regina and stuff, and like for example, it's like if there is now going to be an art market within digital artwork that's much more prominent, and even if you think about like, I think regardless of even just like art, like the younger generation, like Gen Zs or like really young, even younger, that they really perceive digital objects as physical, the way we perceive physical objects. So the idea of collecting digital art, I think, is going to become more like, I'm not saying like the NFT world is going to become really like, I don't know 100% about every aspect of the future of the NFT space in any way, but I do think that the younger generation, when they have more money and they have more prominence on how the financial market like is ran, I think they will be perceiving digital art the same way we now perceive physical art. And so like one aspect was obviously for example, Regina's like super passionate about like the present conservation, and so are you, Wade. Like you have all these things that you're thinking about that like I probably never really thought about. Like definitely like when we like export a film and stuff like that, or we export something, we really know the settings to make everything as high as quality as possible, but we're not coming from the same angle as you are. I think we weren't, like now we understand it a bit better, but we didn't necessarily think about it quite in the same way. We were just thinking we want the highest quality thing, so then when we exhibit it, it's really great. What you're thinking more is like, what is the like the like care, the custody of it for its whole lifetime, even beyond the artist. It's like throughout history and throughout time. Like they're thinking of it much more on that level, and like how do you preserve things and how do you look after things, and also like, you know, how like the idea of a collector not being somebody that just colonizes and takes from you. It's something that's like much deeper than that. It's support, it's love, it's much more than that. It's like being able to like, yeah. So, and I guess like because I don't collect things, like I didn't really think about that because I'm just too busy making the metaverse with my friends with Keiken. So yeah, that was just kind of like a learning experience, I guess. But also through that learning experience, it's like recognizing that's important for other artists. Like, you know, your work is valuable, therefore you should know how it should be looked after, and you should also have that support of like the idea of somebody being, is it custodian or like there's other ways of calling it, I can't remember, like not just a guardian, but like
a steward.
That's the word, like a steward. Yeah, exactly. And like, what is that role? Because often people don't really know that. Like it definitely before like I think I relate a lot of things to like, oh, you're just trying to like take something and sell something. And I think it's like breaking down that meaning, because actually a lot of people who collect just don't do that necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like we can think of collection as supporting the artist, not just as like hoarding something or consuming something, but as a material way of supporting someone. And though that act of taking something, holding onto it, caring for it, is also caring for the artist themselves, and bringing the collector into a more intimate relationship with the artist. And I think that, you know, Hannah is totally right about digital collectibles. Like that's not anything that's going anywhere. Fortnite, for instance, like the Fortnite skins trading industry is like a $17 billion industry or something like this. Like the money is there and people are spending it, and people are valuing digital assets, digital collectibles. And I think that like but the thing is that, you know, the metaverse is amazing and beautiful, but the metaverse is so fragile. Like it's not easy to uphold these kinds of universes and to make sure that they're still online and still accessible. And, you know, I think that like in providing this moral contract and giving people these downloadables, you know, we know that this is like a very time pressing matter in which like these works will not be downloadable forever. The files will not be transmittable forever. It's something that is, you know, obviously physical and tangible, but also ephemeral in its lifespan.
Sorry, wait,
and like
I think we were I just see that we're not on a Twitch anymore. Yeah, it stopped, so yeah, we need to reconnect. So just
okay. Oh, I can see you. I think
yeah, now it's
connected. What point did you stop?
It just actually we're back online. Okay, cool. Sorry, there was a glitch. So Wade, you were just describing the relationship and responsibility. Sorry, what was the last sentence?
Yeah, so I mean, like, so basically I think that like we're positing the notion of a collector as being a supporter of the artist in a more holistic sense, throughout their career, in their life, not just consuming something. And I guess contributing to a cycle of extraction and exploitation and consumption that is unsustainable, and contribute to something that is more in line with what it means to live and work and support an artist and an artist community, as obviously we've been talking about collective work for a long time. And in the context of this moral contract, I think like gives tangible action and impetus to that act, to that like radical notion of care and that reframing of collection. Because people are collecting and people do care about their digital assets wherever they might be. And again, as I was saying, I don't know when I got cut off, the metaverse is fragile. It's really hard to keep online. There's a certain, it takes a lot of server power, as Hannah was talking about, and a lot of computing power in order to keep these worlds sustained. And that this new model of collection might be a way of doing that, or looking towards what that could look like. Because, as people continue to start investing in digital assets and building digital collections, like we're going to have a real crisis of archive in the coming decade, even like not even in like the far future, but in the near future. And there's a couple matters there. There's one, like emotional legacy and like the emotional importance of works on an individual level. But then there's also like a social importance too, of who's going to preserve and archive these new modes of world building and new vistas for what a collective organization can look like. Who's going to make sure that those narratives are told and preserved, or preserved in a way that is intelligible or legible to a common viewer. I mean, we could probably preserve all of the code and the data of this beautiful, of Wisdom's for All 3.0, but like 10 years from now, as layers of code become more abstracted from one another, like who's going to be able to read that, or like take that raw information and turn that into the kind of rich, effective experience that we have playing the game? And that's, I think, one of the biggest issues at play here.
Yeah. So Wade, what are the institutions, or what are the partners, or who are the people that you are working with when it comes to the preservation and
So
archiving?
Yeah, I mean, that's a work in progress. Like so right now, Transfer has committed to upholding the files that are included in the pieces of me show, and more specifically the work for 5 years, for a period of 5 years. All of the other works in the Transfer inventory, we're ostensibly, offering, sustaining forever until sale. And then after sale, we will, continue to provide all of the archival materials, information, upkeep that, are necessary at that time. But that's difficult. So we're talking to a couple of collections right now about what preserving this work will look like. And I can't say too much about that, but we are talking to a few different collections and museums about what that would look like and what it would mean to collect not only the works in the show, but the show itself, to continue access for people to be able to continue to play this online. That's something that we haven't specifically encountered for this work particularly, and like what the collection of like the full game experience would be. And so I'm hoping to have some more concrete conversations with some people on that in the near future. We have some folks that are interested already, and if anyone here in the audience wants to talk to me about that, please like reach out. But I think that in the past, this is a model that we have tried to innovate on previously. We also work with an artist, Cassie McQuater. She's in the Pieces of Me show. She's a game artist. She makes interactive works. Her most famous one is called Black Room. It won a Rhizome Micro grant a couple of years ago. And Cassie, we also represent Black Room. We sell the game. It's available. But how do you sell it? But it was so core to Cassie, as it is so core to Keiken, that the game remained accessible and available online. So how do you reconcile someone wanting to collect something, to own something, to have this kind of like idea of scarcity or possession of something that is ultimately meant to be a collective experience or a collective object, almost like public art or like a sculpture that you might see in a physical public space? And I think that that's kind of like
Yeah, it's
and something that
sorry, there's a little bit of
sorry.
delay, but I mean, in Netherlands, I mean, the preservation of digital art and new media is something that already generations for decades are busy with. And what becomes interesting is that the knowledge gets forgotten, and the people who even know how to maintain it somehow are not able to bring that knowledge to the new generation. So eventually the preservation happens for maybe like 10, 15, 20 years, and then it's the half of the work sort of disappears. And but anyway, I think that the mission on which you are is definitely interesting as well to us. So I think we would love to connect in that line and see how the preservation of new media, especially these new sort of productions and works, can
To add, no, to add one more thing, onto this, like obviously transfer is committing to maintain these works for a period of 5 years and then hopefully, sustain them longer. But it's a real head leap for people to, I think, to get around. I mean, in terms of collecting and maintaining, but like I was saying with Cassie and the levels of her game Black Room, we sell individual levels, and so when the person purchases a level, their name gets written into the code of the level itself, and so the collector has some kind of stake in saying that I was here and this is my contribution to this world that's been built by somebody else, but that I enjoy and that I want to have some kind of stakes in. But I think that, oh my gosh, I had something good to say immediately after that. In the, in the context of like what it means to own this game or this experience, I think that like, it's also like what we were talking about in terms of supporting an entire community is something that we're trying to innovate and experiment with now with this show too. I mean, every edition that is sold from the Pieces of Me show, 30% of the sale price is put into a pot that is redistributed to all of the artists in the show. So can a model that is built on conservation, on stewardship, on custodial care, can that also be a model that can sustain an entire community of artists' livelihoods? Can through wealth redistribution of funds, through this kind of like, of course, the meaning of the work is beautiful and the experience around it and the archiving is beautiful, but I mean, there has to be some kind of transaction at the end of the day that like that orders the sustenance of this work and the ecosystem that surrounds the work that would enable the work to exist in the first place. And so this show, and particularly this way of transacting with intention, so to speak, which has kind of been like our mantra throughout the show, is really being called into question. I don't know how to say this. I hope that this can be a sustainable way forward. At the moment, it's clearly an experiment and it's clearly not sustainable. I think that like us selling, like we're not going to be able to sell like, we just made a sale of one work by Francois Gama to Mitchell Chan from this show. And I think that paid out every artist $15 or something like that. And so that's actually something that's becoming a part of our marketing, is like for works that are going to be released soon, like the buyer will be able to know to an exact dollar value how much their purchase of the work has supported a whole community of artists. So for instance, Lawrence Leck's piece, Idol, and Lawrence Leck is somebody whose work has often been positioned in conversation with Keiken's work. Lawrence also collaborates with a Keiken collaborator, George Jasper Stone, who was here earlier. His work we have available for sale on the show too. And if that work sells, every artist will get paid out, I think it's about $150 each. And that's like, I mean, that's not an amazing or a massive sum of money, and it's not going to make anyone instantly wealthy, but hey, that's groceries for a week or maybe even longer for an entire group of 50 artists, and that's pretty fucking cool. It's part of my language. And so while that may not be sustainable on the institutional side, on the gallery side, like I hope that what this offers is ways that we as a community can come together, sell work, transact with intention, practices.
Yeah, it proposes a new model, which is very much community-based and exchange. I mean, I think it's interesting because, in a period of like 2 months, you came up with a totally different model than any other platform. And I'm actually, yeah, I'm quite, and I'm actually happy that you're actually sharing the insights and numbers as well. Because that puts things in perspective and what is possible if things are structured and arranged and with the agreement as you proposed. So Hana, yes.
Yeah, could I add to that?
A sign that we also have to stop because it's actually already 10 o'clock.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but yes, please go, Hana.
Okay. So like, for example, another thing that you can do within the blockchain, it means, so what we've been thinking about alongside Wade, so we've had a lot of conversations about this and influence from one another. So for example, with the blockchain, what it means, what we've been thinking about is, so in relation to wisdom, so wisdom's is now a form of currency, but within the blockchain, what it opens up is new forms of currency. So for example, it's like, is art an expression currency? Is like so then there's also, and data, so like self-sovereignty and stuff like that. It's like you owning your own data, like, and being able to like make transactions with your own data. So that means that no longer is our system only valued through the currency of numbers and through this like very much like very quick, fast-paced transaction. It may be the world can also have different currencies that are also valued really highly. And I know that, you know, people do collect artwork and there is a transaction, but maybe it's in through the blockchain, it's done in a much more sophisticated way, therefore the way that we value the world is different. So like the idea of that is like, we're kind of playing and thinking about those things. So like what happens, yeah, if you set that, how can you like create wisdom as a form of transaction that actually benefits people's livelihood in some way, that on a sustainable level, that's not just like, I don't know, like that's not so abstracted in some way, like it's like tangibly like connected to the blockchain in some way. And I think like that, I don't know, like obviously ours are much more like Wade's doing it with transfer on a much more practical, like he's living it and actually trying it out and testing it and simulating this experience with the gallery and with other partners and making it a reality as well. Like every time you create something into existence and actually move and make that action, you've embedded it into existence in some way. So, you know, and then maybe ours are a bit more like speculative, maybe. So it's combining both of them in some ways with that moral contract too. But I think this idea of our form of currency being more diversional is something that maybe is worth like exploring, especially with blockchain technology.
Okay. Yeah.
I know, I've been thinking about it, but it's kind of like hard.
For me, it's interesting. Like you know, we have a Wade on one side, which, you know, kind of, as you said, try out things in practice as well, and then we have a role of an artist and a kind of and collective, and so I think, and then on our side, you know, we have a large space, which actually really depends from physical exhibitions and from audience and from that live experience. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to kind of think, but I think in a way we're drawing out an interesting and necessary sort of system. Anyway, I'm pretty much burned and done. I mean, you know, honestly, I mean, there are a lot of things that you're bringing in that you know, are new to me, but that's the whole point, was that actually by playing the game we will kind of start this crazy brainstorm and reflection and problems and confusions and new terms and ideas. So yeah, thank you a lot for Hana for being with us. Thank you for great work and for yeah, actually keep on going in the times of COVID and lockdown and being productive. And Wade, thank you for that beautiful, peaceful, well, actually not a peaceful nature, digital nature. Yeah, it's kind of windy. And thank you for joining us as well and putting together the pieces of me. I think it's quite important show, actually. And also for being critical towards NFTs
It's
on a Clubhouse as well.
a little windy.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if it went through, but thank you also for being critical towards NFTs and platforms that are out there on a Clubhouse. I really enjoyed that windy approach you brought.
He definitely speaks the truth without how he feels. He's not afraid to tell people how.
That was always refreshing.
Honesty is the policy around here. So, you know, you can expect that. But no, thank you so much for having me, Bogomir, and to all of the whole team at Next. This has been awesome. Hana, the game is beautiful, and it's just such a real treat to see it kind of in its final form. Everyone, if you haven't watched us play it, go play it yourselves. Download your tokens, make sure to save your moral contracts, and enjoy, becoming a collector, maybe for some of you for the first time.
And
how
they
long
don't.
is the game online, Hana? It's from it's gonna remain on.
I'm not sure, but this is the point. It's like, I was actually talking to someone the other day who was speaking to the co-founder of Second Life, and they're like a technologist, and they basically, we were talking because they still make money from Second Life, and they just pop in there every time, but it might be worth something. That's the point. It's like we never know how long they exist. Imagine if you start creating community even just through the transactions, that you never know how long this is going to be in line. So the work even itself, you might get it for free, but through that care of looking after it, it might be worth something someday. So that's kind of like the kind of mystery, but also the possibilities that might happen, especially with using something like the blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, I have to think about tokens as a kind of a digital archaeology that might appear in the future. So it's, yeah. Okay, hey, cool, great. Thank you, and a good night, Hana. And Wade, wish you a wonderful day. And we're in touch, and let's play soon again. Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Kisses. Bye
Bye.
bye. Ciao, ciao.